Good morning, students. Once again, welcome back to the course of Software Testing Techniques. This video is brought to you by Newton's Group of Institutions, Machala. This is Arvind Egreddy from the Department of Computer Science and Engineering. Today, in this lecture, let us see why, what, and how we do syntax testing. Why we do syntax testing, what is syntax testing, and how we are going to do the syntax testing. Then let us discuss the second topic, that is the grammar for formats. Today, let us cover these two topics, and in the next lecture, let us discuss about the test case generation and implementation applications and testability tips. Now coming to syntax testing, why, what, and how. As we know that syntax testing, which is a type of black box testing technique, which is being used to examine the formats and the grammar of the data inputs that are being used in the software applications. So here we can use either the external or internal input, which may be formally described in technical and are being established by some specified notation such as Backus Noun Form BNF, and could be used to design the inputs for the validation tests. So here syntax testing, which is being performed for verifying and validating both the internal and external data inputs to a system against some specified formats like textual formats of data inputs from users, or file formats, database schemas, or protocols, and some other similar things. So in general, what we do is, how we are going to do this syntax testing is by using some automation, because here we are going to have, we are going to conduct large number of tests. So that's the reason we have to generally we do syntax testing as automated. And the syntax testing is going to consist of few steps. So the methodology of syntax testing can be perceived and can be understood through few steps in some sort of sequential order. In the very first step of the syntax testing, which is going to involve the identification of the target language or the format. Thereafter, the syntax of the language is defined as specified in the formal notation such as Backus Noun Form BNF, as each and every input has some syntax which may be formally pre-specified, undocumented. And in the final step, which is involving, which involves testing and debugging the syntax, so that to ensure the completeness and consistency. So here, when we say that testing and debugging, in general, the syntax is tested using two conditions. The first condition, under first condition, testing the normal conditions by using the converting set of paths of the syntax graph for minimum necessary requirements. And the second condition is by testing the garbage conditions, that is by using invalid set of input data. So here we have to understand that the garbage condition, which is a method of testing the system's tolerance against bad data or dirty data. Here the condition is executed by providing dirty data to the system, that is by providing invalid data to the system. So which is being not supported by the specified format and grammar of that particular syntax what we have defined in the Backus Noun Form. So here we also have to test it by using by giving invalid data, wrong data, bad data, dirty data. Okay, so now let us see what is garbage in, garbage out. because we are giving invalid data, garbage in, garbage out, which is also called as GIGO, G-I-G-O, garbage in, garbage out, which is a concept which is common to computer science and mathematics. Here, the quality of the output is being determined by the quality of the input. So always based on the input only, we will be getting the output. So, for example, if a mathematical equation which is being improperly stated, then the answer is unlikely to be correct. If the equation itself is wrong, there may be a possibility of getting a wrong answer, invalid answer, incorrect answer. Similarly, if incorrect data is the input for any program, then the expected output is unlikely to be informative. So here garbage in equals garbage out, which is one of the worst cop-outs ever invented by the computer industry. And we know that when we use that wrong data, when our program screws up and people will be hurt. If you are giving a wrong input with the wrong output, people will be getting hurt. So suppose say that the operator had made a mistake. When an operator makes a mistake by giving an mounting a bad file, bad tape, or by giving a wrong command, he has to accept his mistake. If he nods his head, or if he shouts at the customers or the clients, or if he is murmurs, then there is no sense. When you commit some sort of mistake, you have to accept it. You must be in a position to accept it. So when I say that you must be in a position to accept it, that doesn't mean that you can make a mistake and you can accept it. For say, suppose if the passengers are sitting in an aeroplane and if the pilot by mistake, he made a mistake by instead of pressing one button, he had pressed another button. Because of that, there occurred a fire in the plane and the plane got crashed. He cannot just say sorry to the passengers or passengers' family. But if at all, if you make a mistake, you have to commit, you have to say sorry, you have to accept the mistake, you have to try to rectify the mistake. But making a mistake and accepting it or rectifying it makes no sense. So you must see that the system never makes mistake. Even if you press any wrong button, knowingly or unknowingly, because see, the system, when it is being meant for the public, malicious numbers of users will be using it. So some people, they are professional, some will be unprofessional, so they can press any key and improper keys. Because of that, mistakes may happen. So for that itself, what we have to do is we have to do testing for garbage values also, invalid data also we have to do test. So at invalid data, garbage values also, we have to see that the system is not corrected or it is not going to harm the users. Suppose if you say that you are using a nuclear by mistake, if something happens, then it is a great damage to the society. So you have to be a little bit cautious while using these malicious softwares. While using these softwares, while you are sending these software systems into the public. So here, GIGO is no explanation for anything except our failure to install good data validation checks, or poorer quality, or our failure to test the system tolerance for bad data. So here the garbage should not get in, nor in the first place, nor in the last place. We should not give any scope to garbage to enter into our system. So here every system must contend with the puzzling array of internal and external garbage. And if we don't think the world is hostile, then we do have to plan to cope up with alpha practicals. Because here malicious users, so many users, they will use the system in a casual way. So here systems that interface with the public must be especially strong and consequently must have creative input validation checks before being released into the market. It is not that the users of automatic telling machines, they say, are willfully unfriendly. But there are so many of them, and so few of us, we know how to use it. So there is one phenomena, million monkey phenomena. What this particular phenomena says is a million monkeys sit at a million typewriters for a million years, and eventually one of them will type Hamlet. So million monkeys are sitting in front of a million typewriters for million number of years. So by random, they will be typing the word Hamlet. Okay. So the more users, the less they know, the likelier or the eventually, or there is a pure chance something will hit every spot of at which the system's vulnerable is a bad input. So here there are malicious users in every population, infiltrating people who delegate in doing strange things to our system. So there is a great saying that in olden days, in previous days, these hackers, they used to hack the system, or they used to harm the system just for a free soda. If somebody says that I will get you one soda, please break that particular system, they used to do. But as the time passed, their sons and daughters, they invented a blue box for getting free telephone calls. And now it is not the case. So here snooping and the nuisance is created via video games. They enter into your system. Their intention, they enter into your system, and their intention is to attack your computer. That is, they want to trouble you. Here, some of them will be programmers. So programmers themselves sitting on the system, but using a lot of time. By mistake, something may happen. That is not a problem. That can be rectified. But some people, they intendedly, they enter into your system, they corrupt your system, they will get control, complete access on your files, on your documents, on your data directories, and whatever else they want to do, they can do it. So what is the use means? Why they do means not for soda, not for a free telephone call. What they do is, if they do these kinds of things, they get millions and trillions, hundreds of dollars annually. So how these criminals, they enter is by using the laptops or by using a private telephone booth. So if your system is going to accept any bad data, then there is a possibility of crash on your system. They can enter, they can hold your computer, the authority on your computer unknowingly. They will be sitting in a remote area, but they will have complete access on your system. That's the reason whenever we get any pop-ups, we should not just like that, we should not open. So when we don't know that whether it is a correct from a right or not, we should not accept it. We should not install in our system. We should not give any chance for these hackers to attack our system and get complete control on our system. Okay. So here, let us see what is called as an input tolerance testing. So to overcome the above mentioned problem in the previous problem, to that the hackers don't attack your system, enter into our system, a good user interface designer designs their system so that it just does not accept the garbage value itself. So good testers subject system to most creative garbage possible. And here the input tolerance testing is usually done as a part of the system testing and usually by independent testers. So here, when we do this syntax testing, the syntax testing is going to have certain steps. So those steps, what you can see on the screen. First one is to identify the target language or format, whether it may be hidden or explicit. And the second step is we have to define the syntax of the language. That is, we have to define the format of the language formally in a convenient notation such as a BNF, that is Backus-Naur form. And the third step, we have to test and debug the syntax to assume that it is complete and consistent and that it is satisfying the intended semantics. And fourth one is fourth step, normal condition testing, which consists of covering set of input strings, including critical loop values. So here the difficult part about normal case testing is predicting the outcomes and verifying them the processing was correct. So that is ordinary functional testing, that is semantics. So here covering the syntax graph assures that all the options have been tested. And this is the minimum mandatory requirement with the analog strengths and weaknesses of branch testing for any control flow graphs. Of course, it is not a complete syntax testing by any measure, but to some extent, this can avoid. So here, the syntax testing methods, they pay off best for dirty testing. That is what we have to understand. So here, the test design, which is a top-down process that consists of methodological identification, which component is to be cruded up and how they need to be done. And here, much of the syntax test design can and should be automated by using some simple means. So here, test execution automation, which is essential for syntax testing because this method produces so many tests. So we are going to perform large number of tests. So now let us go into the second topic of this particular lecture, that is grammar for formats. A grammar for formats. Here, the main objective is every input which is having the syntax, and the syntax may be formally specified or undocumented or just understood, but it does not exist. So here, data validation consists, that is in part of checking the input for correct syntax. It is best when the syntax is defined in formal language, best for the designer and as well as for the tester. So whether the designer creates the data validation software from a formal specification or not, which is not important to the tester, but the tester needs a formal specification to create a useful garbage. So here, the specification which is conveniently expressed in Backus-Naur form which is very similar to the regular expressions. And these regular expressions we discussed in our previous lectures as an algebraic representation of all paths in a graph. So if you want more clarity, please watch my previous videos. So it is usually more convenient for us to deal with the algebraic version of graphs than with the pictorial version. So here, every input can be considered as if they were string of characters. So here, the software will accept valid strings and will reject the invalid ones. If the software fails on a string, then we have really got it. If it accepts an invalid string, then it is guilty of GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. So here, there is nothing we can do about syntactically valid strings whose values are valid, but they are wrong. That kind of garbage we have to accept. There is no other alternative for that. So here, the syntax testing definition must be formal, starting with the almost elementary parts that characterize themselves. So here is a sample definition. Alpha characters we are going to represent with from capital A to capital Z. Alpha characters, and numericals from 1 to 9. And third one is 0. And we have some signs: factorial, hash, dollar, percentage, ampersand, asterisk, brackets, minus, plus, divide, colon, equal to, semicolon, double quotation, single quotation, comma, question mark. And we have space, SP. So wherever we write space, we are going to type there SP. And the left hand side of the LHS of the definition is the name given to the collection of objects on the right hand side. So here the string double colon equal to, which is interpreted as a single symbol, that means is defined as. And a slash, which means R. Okay, not vertical bar. Here it is a mistake. Slash, which means R. Okay, so we could have used the plus sign for the purpose as with regular expressions, but we don't be in keeping with establishing the conventions for the Backus-Naur form. So we are using BNF to define the tiny language. Here, the double colon equal to is a part of the language in which we talk about the tiny language, which is called as a meta language. So here the spaces which are always confusing because we cannot display them on the paper, and we use SP to when we mean a space. And the actual space of this particular page which has no meaning. So similarly, an italicized, that is underlined symbol, which is used for another single character that cannot conveniently print it, such as a null, end of text, clear screen, or carriage return, line feeder, tab, and these arrow marks, shift up, shift down, index, backspace. So all these things. So here the underlined space as in alpha character, which is used as usual in programming language to connect the words that comprise us of a single object. Okay, now let us see the BNF operations. So here these operations, what we are using is same as those what we used in our path expressions and regular expressions. R for concatenation, into, and we are going to use a plus symbol. And here we will be using some exponents such as a power n. So here a power n, capital A power n, which will also have the same meaning as before. N repetitions of the string that is being denoted by the letter capital A. So here all these syntax that is being defined in Backus-Naur form as a set of definitions. And each definition may in turn refer to other definitions or itself in such a way that eventually it gets down to the characteristics that is going to form that particular input string. So here you can see on the screen, you can see some of the operations in Backus-Naur form. Brackets enclosed, if you are enclosing these brackets, which means optional items. And this braces, if you are enclosing any item with this particular braces, only one of each is required. The meaning is only one of each is required. And this vertical bar. So this is not backslash vertical bar. A vertical bar which is separates the alternatives within the brackets or within the braces. And plus or hash. So the character plus or hash preceding any element that indicates one or more occurrences. And the character asterisk preceding an element indicates 0 or more occurrences. And a dot we will be using for concatenation. Okay, so here that syntax may be formed, specified or undocumented or just understood, but which may does not exist. So here data validation consists of checking the input for correct syntax, and it is best when the syntax is defined in a formal language, best for designer and the tester. So here, whether the designer is going to create the data validation software from a formal specification or not, which is not important to the tester, but the tester needs to formally specification for creating useful garbage. So here, the specification which is conveniently expressed in the BNF, that is Backus-Naur form, which is very similar to the regular expressions what we use, and these regular expressions what we have discussed in our previous things, previous lectures. Okay, so now one minute. Yeah, repetitions. So here as before the object here like 1-3, which means 1 to 3 objects, and object star, which means that 0 or more repetitions of the object without limit, and object here plus, which means that 1 or more repetitions of the object. So here neither the star nor the plus can logically appear in any syntax, because both the symbols means possibly infinite number of repetitions. So that cannot be done in a finite memory or in the real world applications, real world systems. So the software must have some means of limited repetitions. That how we are going to express is in this particular form. So it can be done by an explicit test that is associated with every plus or asterisk operator, in which case we should replace the operator with a number. We have to replace it with a number. And another way to limit the repetition is by placing a global limit on the length of any string. So here the limit is then applied to all the commands, and it may be very difficult to predict what is an actual limit for any specific command. So here we test this kind of limit by maximum length strings. That is what we have to understand. Yet another way for implementation of these limits is to limit a common resource such as a stack or by using an array with some particular size. And again, the limits for a specific command may be unpredictable because it is a global limit rather than an format specific limit. So the way we test this particular situation is the way how we are going to represent the start strings, how we are going to represent them. So now my question is, why BNF? Why we have to go for BNF? Why BNF? So you are using a BNF specifications, it is an easy way to design the format validation test cases. And it is also an easy way for designing designers to organize their work. And we should not begin to design test until we are able to distinguish incorrect data from the correct data. That's the reason we have to go for Backus-Naur form, BNF. Okay. So remaining two topics we will cover in our next video. So that's all for now. Thank you very much for watching my video till the end. That's all for now. Thank you.